Much has changed over the last several years when it comes to traveling. First of all, the days of wrestling with those folded maps that you would buy at the service station where they pumped the gas for you and checked the oil and washed your windshield. Some of you don't recall those days, do you? Those days are fading, if not completely gone. Remember those maps, though, that you would buy at the service station or would receive? By the time my mother would get it unfolded and turned right side up or out, we would have passed the intersection, to which my father would invariably express his frustration in language not suited for Sunday morning. Well, that's all changed now. Now, in many automobiles, a computerized voice from the navigation system, or perhaps something from your cell phone, will tell you which way to go. And when you don't follow her directions, and mine is always a female, I don't know why, she will repeatedly say, make a U-turn, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. And one of these days, I expect her to use some of that same language my father used. Traveling has changed and perhaps in some ways gotten better, but it is still disconcerting to run into some kind of trouble when you're traveling, where things that are hard enough to face at home get magnified when away from home. There used to be organizations in every community, and I don't know what has happened to them, but they're gone, called Travelers' Aid Societies. Anybody ever remember that? They help people who ran into trouble while traveling. We know, Gene and I know some folks who were on a trip to Italy just a couple years back. It was a tour they were on, and the woman of the couple fell and broke her ankle while she was there, and she spent about 4 or 5 days in an Italian hospital where she was treated quite well, she said. They offered to do surgery on her ankle, but understandably, she wanted to wait until she got home to have that done. So as soon as she was able to get up on her feet enough to make it from a wheelchair to an airplane seat, they made their plans to fly home early from their trip. Much to their surprise and delight, the Italian hospital and doctors did not charge them 1 penny for the care that they received. However, the American-owned airlines charged them $10,000 for 2 tickets to change their flight plans and get in seats in first class where she could stretch out and elevate her leg. Sometimes we're surprised from where our help comes and where it doesn't come. Sometimes when folks travel, they carry with them tokens or items that give them a greater sense of security, and it helps. Everything from a rabbit's foot hanging from the rear view mirror to a sand dollar tucked away in a suitcase with that little poem, Footprints in the Sand, printed on the card. And Psalm 121, which we just read, is actually a traveling song for just such a purpose. One reason interpreters have connected this psalm with the idea of a journey is that it's part of the Psalms of Ascent. A little Bible study here for you. Oh, stay with me, okay? Psalms 120 through 134, they all bear a title in Hebrew translated as a song of ascent, a song of ascent. The best guess of scholars is that these psalms were collected to be used in conjunction with a pilgrimage, a journey to Jerusalem. And for that reason, Psalm 121 is most commonly understood as a blessing for one who is about to leave on a journey. The structure of the psalm is very simple. Verses 1 and 2 is the traveler's question and confession. And verses 3 through 8, a priestly blessing. The traveler's question and confession, I lift my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come? My help will come from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The psalm begins with a question to which any one of us can relate. Where can I get help? Or better, where do I look for help? That question is sometimes hard for some of us to ask. You see, we don't want to admit we need help. And sometimes that's a question we get tired of being asked. Those in the helping profession call it burnout. Request after request, sometimes from the same folks over and over again. And oh, how easy do we become afflicted with a condition known as compassion fatigue. And we become jaded, mistrustful and suspicious of motives. And sometimes we become slaves to the very systems that we have set up to help those in need, and we end up frustrated by all the bureaucracy and red tape. Where can I get help? Sometimes in our passion for helping, we also end up creating atmospheres of unhealthy entitlement and dependency. There's a book recently out entitled Toxic Charity by Robert Lupton. And sometimes our ways of trying to help create dysfunctional power struggles with those who are doing the helping resenting those who are being helped. And then the help feel controlled or degraded by the helpers. Robert Lupton tells the story of being with a church group that was delivering Christmas presents to the children of a needy family. He said when they rang the doorbell, the father answered, and of course the children reacted in glee to the sight of all the wrapped presents with toys and clothes, but the father of the family left the room never to come back out. Robert Lupton said several days later, he worked up the courage to go back to talk with the father and to apologize. For he realized that what they as a church group had inadvertently done to the man, by giving his children Christmas gifts that he as a father was not able to give them that year. They had robbed him of his dignity and made him feel less than a man before his children. Of course, the far better way of helping the family would have been for somebody from that church group to sit down with the father ahead of time and perhaps offer to go shopping with him and let him select the gifts for his children and allow him to present the gifts to the children. Where can I get help? It can be embarrassing to have to ask that question. It can be even more challenging to face that question while on a journey, while in a place outside of the circle of our familiar relationships. It can be intimidating and aggravating to seek help from places where all the rules for getting help dehumanize the process, where folks feel like they're just a number on a caseload or just another appointment on a calendar. I hope we never become that here at South Main. I don't know about you, but when I seek help, I find it so much better when I'm greeted by a familiar face or voice, and when that face comes with a smile. Who, like me, is tired of talking to a machine? Select 1, select 2, select 4. That is not a valid response. The psalmist asks the question, where can I get help? And the answer comes, my help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. What does that look like? What does the Lord's help look like? If anybody should say they've got an overburdened caseload, can you imagine handling all the requests the Lord gets? How does he do it? Help comes from the Lord. And Jesus came calling a network of disciples servants in his name, who hand out a cup of cold water, who visit the sick and offer liberty to the imprisoned, and hope to the despairing, and kind words and a listening ear to the grieving, and food to the hungry, and clothes to the naked, and community to the lonely, and healing to the wounded, and dignity to all of God's children. What does that look like? What does the Lord's help look like? I came across a story about a lady named Sally Henningfeld. Her story reminded me of recent visits to my home church where I grew up in Indiana. Every time I go back to my home church, of course, they want me to sing a solo, sing with the church choir. The same church choir my grandmother sang in for over 60 years, and my mother, who's now 81, has sung in that choir since she was 13, 68 years. The choir, when I was a young person, had about 35 members, every voice part well represented, and each Sunday would present beautiful anthems. Well, like many church choirs, today they are smaller and older. The Sunday I was last there were about 15 in the choir, and that was a good day. Several of them around my mother's age. The men's section was four of us, including me. But one of the four was Ricky. Ricky, who joined the choir a few years back after he started walking to the church from a nearby special needs group home. Now, Ricky cannot read a lick of music. He can't even read the words to the music, nor can he really carry a tune. But he loves singing in the choir. And they've made a place for Ricky in the choir. He wears a robe and holds a folder with the same dignity as my 81-year-old mother, a 68-year veteran of that choir. You see, Ricky has been helped by that church. And that church choir has been helped by Ricky. Amen. The poet that wrote Psalm 121 paints us a picture of a God who really cares. The psalmist calls God keeper. He who keeps you will not slumber. The Lord is your keeper. He will keep your life. Matthew Floating, who teaches at a church seminary in Holland, Michigan, and writes frequently on topics of Christian leadership, tells the story of Sally Henningfeld. Sally, who knew the Lord's help, and she knew the truth of the statement, the Lord is your keeper. Matthew Floating says, first of all, to understand Sally, you have to understand the community where she lived, Orange City, Iowa. Picture a lovely community platted out on 1 square mile. After 130-some years, it spills over that border now, though developers pose no threat to the alternating fields of corn and soybeans that surround the town. Sally lived on a high place in the town, a hill just outside of town on the northwest corner, in what was referred to for years as the county home. I believe Anderson once had a county home. That was where her parents had deposited Sally and her sister, both cognitively disabled, in 1955. Matthew Floating said he became a legal guardian to this 70-year-old woman to prevent the appearance of conflict of interest over medical and financial decisions. From the county home, Sally could see the other high places in town. On the town's southwest corner stood the grain elevators, representing the financial base of the community. At the center of the town was the courthouse of Sioux County, Iowa, Lady Justice standing proudly on top, representing power. South and center stands Winter Hall with its proud tower, the old main of Northwestern College's campus, representing knowledge. Sally could see all of them clearly from the park bench on the lawn, but with this ironic twist, he said. Though she could visually associate with these high places, her life was not about money. Her Social Security provided her room and board and $35 a month spending allowance, supplemented by $1 an hour for wiping off the dining room tables. Her life was not about education and knowledge, for she loved coloring books and she could manage to scrawl her own name in cursive. Her life was not about power. She was a ward of the state, and when she finally needed to move to a nursing home, most of her belongings ended up in a dumpster within an hour's time. There was no family to claim them, no need to store them. But there was another high place in that town, and it was the church steeple. And there, this woman of low estate was elevated through her participation in Bible study and Sunday school. It was from the church that she welcomed every week. She was the greeter, welcoming a steady trickle of visitors. The church provided the opportunity to worship with dignity and with others who loved and trusted Jesus. And it was at her life's end, it was the church that paid for her cemetery plot. You see, the Lord who made heaven and earth was and is Sally's keeper. You see, that's why we exist as the Church of Jesus Christ. To be, in the name of the Lord, Sally Henningfeld's keeper. And Ricky from Indiana's keeper. And the young single mother trying to hold down 2 jobs and take care of her kids, keeper. And the middle-aged man who's been drinking for 25 years but wants a different life, his keeper. And the materially affluent couple who have found that just having things, owning things, isn't enough in life, their keeper. And the children who need somebody to guide them and love them in this world, their keeper. And the man living under the cloud of mental illness, his keeper. And the woman trying to escape a life of drugs and prostitution, her keeper. And the list goes on and on, but that's who we are, folks. Yeah. The truth is, we all need a keeper. Right? We are our brother and sister's keeper. In the name of Jesus, we are. God, help us to always be the church that believes that. Amen. And practices that. The truth is, we all sometimes need help, don't we? Sometimes I need help. Sometimes I'm able to give help. But sometimes I need to receive help. That's true of every single one of us. You see, sometimes you are the one seeking help. But sometimes you're the one giving help, too. That's how it works, the Lord's help.
We all have a key.
Amen. And that's why South Main Chapel and Mercy Center is here and must always be here. We are the franchise. We're the delivery mechanism through which the Lord is helping us all.
Amen.
Let's pray. Forgive us, Lord, when we forget who you are and who we are. Remind us anew that in humility we all sometimes need to bow down and say, I need help. Likewise, remind us that you've given to each and every one of us the gifts and the strengths to be able to help somebody else.